Now let's discuss that further with Tony Gosling, historian and investigative journalist joining us from Bristol. Mr. Gosling, it's great to have you with us. I wanted your initial thoughts on the GHF's abruptly ending its mission in Gaza.
Well, if you want my brief thoughts, hooray! At last, we see the back of this foundation. I think it's interesting that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation uses this kind of charitable status as many other organizations like the Rockefeller Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation. These people are very much like what we have in the UK, trusts. And the idea is that they're a charitable organization. They're not for profit. But in this case, they're for killing. I'd just like to point out that there are 2,600 dead and injured people who were trying to access the Gaza so-called Humanitarian Foundation's facilities, which had been forced to take over because the Israelis, the Americans and the British and everybody else supporting the genocide was preventing UNRWA from doing their job, the United Nations, that is. And so, thankfully, this organization is no more. One of their leaders, John Acree, I noticed, he was saying that what a wonderful job we did. He denied that any had been killed, so 2,600 dead and injured. He just was looking the other way. He didn't notice it. And actually, there were snipers, as you said, were actually killing people as they came towards the aid. So it was almost like a killing trap that you might set for a rat or an animal. That's what the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation was, and so it's good to see the back of it.
Exactly, Mr. Gosling. GHF, these are the words of the Hamas's statement. GHF must be held accountable for their crimes to prevent the recurrence of such tragedies and protect humanity from organized international terrorism. What are the chances of that?
Well, very little, I'm afraid, because we have a breakdown in international law, a very serious one. For example, one of the reasons the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation was brought in was because the Israelis and their supporters had killed 380 aid workers who were working with the United Nations, and it was becoming impossible to deliver aid. And really, this organization was part of the occupation force, as we now have Israeli and IDF forces working closely with a few Palestinians who have decided to throw their luck in with the Israelis because that's the only way they can get food. And so you have now Israeli fighting groups who are actually recruiting Palestinians to them within Gaza. So this is a horrendous situation. If you're going to have a 250,000 people now killed and injured in Gaza, clearly people are going to need aid, need support, and almost the whole of Gaza is now dependent on aid. I think it's something like 90%, UNRWA have said now, at least that the old humanitarian organizations have been allowed back in. That's why the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has been forced out. So what with 250,000 killed and injured in Gaza, it's quite obvious that aid is needed. And what happened during the genocide is there was actually what you would call a weaponized system for delivering aid. I mean, this is by their fruit. By the way, the Bible talks about this, the New Testament. By their fruits shall you know them. That's Matthew 7:16 in the Christian New Testament. And by their fruits, we can see that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation was an Orwellian organization. The actual role was the opposite. It was a mass murder foundation that used food in order to bait Palestinians in to kill them.
Tony Gosling, historian and investigative journalist, joining us from Bristol. Thank you for your time tonight.